guys, and welcome back to another episode of Beats and Bandanas podcast. It's your girl Ken. So we have the final top list video for the year. It's pretty exciting, but I will say this was the hardest list I had to not only condense but just finalize to be happy with it. I did ask you guys if you wanted me to have two separate videos, one for honorable mentions and the other for the top albums, and y'all were like, nah, put that together. I'm gonna run through the honorable mentions, just briefly talk about the projects that I feel are necessary to speak on. First one, we have XXXTentacion's question mark. Loved this project overall, but I did find myself only listening to about 2 or 3 songs frequently. Next one is East Atlanta Love Letter by Black. Third, The Carter 5 by Lil Wayne. Now before you sit here and try to come for me, let me explain. This was originally on my top albums list, but because of how I condensed and the reasons why I condensed, it was just more fitting for this to be on my honorable mentions. Regardless if some of the songs sound dated, I still enjoyed a great majority of the songs. I felt like I was like kind of betraying him in a way when I put him on the honorable mentions. I felt kind of bad, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Next is I Am Greater Than I Was, 21 Savage, KOD, J. Cole. I do fully understand the message that he was trying to put out with this project. I do get that. Although this was different than his previous projects, I still enjoyed the album. Stokely, I just thought was a really fun album. I had a great time listening to it. Beer Bongs and Bentleys, Scorpion by Drake. Don't come for me. I liked it, okay? No, it's not his best. I'm not even gonna try to say that. But I did enjoy it. There were numerous songs on here that I enjoyed, more so on side B than side A. But yes, excluding Ratchet Happy Birthday. Next is Brockhampton's Iridescence. Initially, this sounded completely different than what I was expecting. What I respect about this project though is that they did this for themselves. If you heard like any of their interviews or anything like that, they did say they don't care if anyone enjoys this. It's more so for them because of what they went through this entire year. I did have to find myself kind of adapting to it, I guess you could say, but now I do have tracks off of there that I really do enjoy, but it took some time. And last is Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy. Overall, this was not a bad listen by any means. There were plenty of catchy songs, whether she wrote them or not. I think she definitely put her personality in her tracks like she's known for doing. I really love how she's kind of made a name for herself and she's really blowing up this year. It would be crazy for anyone to say that Cardi B has not blown up this year alone, compared to previous years when people really weren't listening to her and everything, or not to this capacity, I guess you could say. Did I say that was the last one? Oh, I did, my bad. I have one more, sorry. The last one, for real, is Travis Scott's Astroworld. I don't know, I just feel like for the number of songs that he had and just the way that they sounded, I mean, did you really need all the tracks? You could have just really condensed it to 5 songs, you feel me? And we could have still had the same effect, you know? Relax, I'm joking. Get out my comment section. Get out my comment section. I'm playing with you. The last one was Cardi B. For real now, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the top albums list. So I do have 18. It's a weird number, but that's what it came down to. So on my channel, although I do review more hip hop and R&B, with the exception of one artist with pop, Ariana Grande, Sweetener, this right here I found myself listening to all the time. Numerous favorite tracks of mine by her. I feel like I'm going to be using the term unapologetic a lot, but I feel like she had that kind of attitude with this, considering the relationship she was in. She really put it out there. Aside from that, just her vocal ability and range never ceases to amaze me. Regardless of the production, she can just make her voice adapt to whatever sound there is, and I really love that with this girl, and that is why I've been by her side for a minute now, because as the time goes by, her voice just develops more and more. Next, we have Peach Fuzz by Tabby. I really love how he executed his theme. As far as him having 2 different perspectives, and I just felt like that was done so well from the beginning of the album, mixtape, from the beginning of the mixtape to the midway point where it transitioned so well with Mask Off. That is one of my favorite tracks, hands down. The fact that it transitioned through somewhat of what felt like a conversation almost. Orange Boy was saying, I have a lot on my plate. And then with Loverboy coming in and saying, I know you have a lot on your plate, but come talk to me, you feel me? Come talk, come on, I got you. And then the overall hip hop sound. His hard flow and delivery, he really did his thing. He really put in a lot of hard work, and it showed. Next we have FM by Vince Staples. This is another person who really he did such a great job with just execution with your theme. This was literally the feeling of being in your car or just wherever you are with the radio, turning on the radio, hearing just even like the quality, the or like the effect, I guess, of what it would sound like to hear a radio from start to finish, having things even like commercials in between featuring Earl Sweatshirt, and then I think the other one had Tyga on there. It was just, I loved that. It kind of just impacted me more overall, and the project itself was just very, very upbeat. I found myself always just staying in touch, in tune with the sound, with the production, even when it kind of transitioned a little bit and kind of slowed down with tweaking. I still had the same feeling throughout. Listening to a lot of these tracks on repeat in the gym even. So yeah, if y'all haven't tried that, you probably should. You feel me? I'm not even saying the numbers, sorry. Number 15 is Room 25 by No Name. This year was my first time really listening to No Name. I've heard of her before, I've heard a few of her songs, but this was the first time I've listened to a project of hers from start to finish, and I was absolutely just, I loved what I heard. She has this, what my friend described it as, like spoken word poetry, and then there was just music behind it, and I thought that was such a great way to describe her delivery on this project overall. It was so, her voice was smooth, it was very calming actually, especially matched with the production as well. You had like this jazz type of feel, then it went to kind of soulful sounds, and I was all for it. So along with her vocals, the features also complemented that as well, with songs like Window and No Name. I really liked how she kind of speaks about things that people are kind of afraid to talk about, and it gave me a feeling as if, like with some tracks, like she's calling you out and now the ball is in your court and now it's your turn to say something back. It was kind of like that, if that makes sense. Number 14, Lost and Found by Georgia Smith. The lyrics were relatable to me with a lot of these tracks, from Teenage Fantasy, The One, Don't Watch Me Cry. The instrumentals were beautiful, and I just found myself listening to these songs a lot after it came out.
Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, I don't know why I kept saying I found myself so many times. I promise you I have a more expansive vocabulary than that. I don't know what was going on.
Number 13. Let me tell you something about my girl, Janelle Monáe with Dirty Computer. She's not playing with y'all. She's not playing. I think she had such a great return from Electric Lady back in 2013. This was just, I don't even know where to even begin. Rolling Stone actually had an article talking about this, describing the overall sound as, what was it, like personal, musical, sexual, and political freedom, and I agree so much. You can tell she has something to say, and she was going to say it regardless of how it made you feel, but it was just like kind of similar to No Name. It was things that people don't talk about, and I loved it. The sound as well, it just kept giving me this feel that it could be on the soundtrack of the movie The Breakfast Club, and just kind of have like a modern twist to it, but it still felt like it was back in that time frame. Like, when did that movie come out? Was it in the 80s? I think so. It seemed like she was coming from a place of where she was not only accepting but embracing things about herself and things that other people might see as imperfections. Number 12 is Anderson .Paak's Oxnard. So this, just the overall feel, the sound, the vibe. He had some portions where it was kind of like you were listening to the radio as well, but this was just a fun project for me. It made me laugh, especially with Head Low, with the dialogue. I'm not sure if that was the same track where he was talking about references of, you know, doing stuff while you're watching anime, and it was like, what? It was random, but I really enjoyed it, and I really love how he's getting so much recognition from this project because he absolutely deserves it. I do have a few favorite tracks from this one, but hands down Six Summers was my absolute favorite, so yes. Number 11, Testing, A$AP Rocky. It's crazy because I feel like he got a lot of negative feedback from this project, when the name itself, Testing, that's pretty much what this project was about. Experimental sounds, just trying to switch stuff up. And I did read and hear people talking about how, oh, you know, where's the old ASAP? What is this? What's this new stuff you're doing? Myself personally, I did think that the old ASAP was still here. And even the distorted voices that he does and that deep, you know, what he does in his songs too. So I don't know, I really enjoyed it a lot, actually, especially after more listens. The first listen, I did think it sounded different, but it wasn't something like, oh man, this is trash, ASAP, I don't know what you thought you were doing. It wasn't like that at all. We've now approached the top 10, okay? We have Whack World by Tierra Whack. This was hands down one of the most creative projects I've listened to this year. 15 minutes, yet such unique, creative lyrics and sounds per track. It was always something different, and the way that she kind of like manipulated her voice or kind of make it sound humorous, use like a southern accent and stuff like that in another, and sometimes she got a little bit personal and, you know, just called you out on stuff and just called out certain people in her life, and I was here for it. I was really here for it, and I have heard that there are some dope visuals to this as well, and I have not seen that, but I'm glad I was able to discover her this year as well. Number 9, some rap songs, Earl Sweatshirt. This album is not about the production. Are we still here? It's not about the production, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. The first listen threw me off. It was somewhat difficult for me to try to listen to it and kind of put the production aside a little bit so that I could focus on what he was actually saying. Honestly, I feel like if you only listened to this one time and then said, this album is trash, I don't think that's right. I've seen plenty of people say how the sound is minimalistic, and even perspectives of saying how the sound represents his mental state. I feel like there's more that you have to do than just listen to it one time. I listened to it multiple times. I looked up the lyrics. I would look at the lyrics while listening to the song, and by doing that I realized this wasn't only a project that was, I guess, recalling certain moments of his life, but it was also him finding moments of clarity and then talking about people that he's lost. And then I remember him mentioning stuff where he found himself not having to cope the same way he did before in the past, yet still struggling, but not using those same coping mechanisms. And then moments of him kind of reaffirming his own authenticity and kind of calling out the real from the fakes with people that are in his life. Death was just really surrounding him, from his father, from I'm not sure if he refers to this man as his uncle, but a close friend of his father's. It was a beautiful structure, a beautifully structured project that I feel like not a lot of people can appreciate. And even if you haven't listened to him before, I just think that's a part of listening to music, just giving it an opportunity, listening to it more than one time. Now, if you listen to it 5 times and you still don't like it, then okay, you don't like it. Número 8. Wait, is 8 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. No, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yikes. Okay. I don't know. So, okay. Number 8, My Dear Melancholy by The Weeknd. I have EPs on here too, so yeah. It was just a short and sweet project, but I loved everything about it. The production, just able, just, ayúdame, help. Yeah, there's not really too much in depth I can go, but I'm ready for him to go ahead and release that new project next year. So, don't play with me. Number 7 is Swimming by Mac Miller. I think you could tell, even starting with The Divine Feminine, that his sound was changing. And it wasn't a sound that I was against. I really liked it because I felt like he still sounded really good. With this different type of production, adding more, I guess, I want to call it a soulful sound to an extent. Different instrument usage, more of like an acoustic sound too. I think it came full force, that's complete switch over to that sound with Swimming, and I absolutely loved it. This album was just for him. When you make something for yourself, not caring what others are going to think, how I felt with Iridescence too, but with this one, since I enjoyed it from the initial listen, it just hit me more. because this was just, I'm not gonna sound like, I guess, a broken record because this has already been talked about a lot, but it was a sense of vulnerability, this album, and really putting himself out there, still addressing a lot of fears that he had, things that he, you know, at the time thought he had overcome as well. So very touching project while he was alive, and of course more impactful when he passed away. Next one is number 6, DiCaprio 2 by J.I.D. He snapped. Simply put, he snapped. I don't even know how else to explain it. If you've heard the first DiCaprio and you've listened to this one, the first one had so much of Leonardo DiCaprio in it, as far as samples, stuff from movies he's been in, interviews, stuff like that. And with this one, it seemed as if it was inspired by a different part of Leo's career. And if you've seen, I'm not sure which interview it was, but I did hear something that he said about how this was a point, also referencing the album cover being an Oscar. This was when Leo had achieved something he well deserved a long time before, but he finally got that Oscar. And I think for this point in Jid's career, this was his Oscar winning moment, getting to this point of DiCaprio 2. And so the only thing that you got as far as like Leo related would be the trailer and the album cover, since there were 2. He had a lot of noteworthy songs on here, pretty much the entire album if I'm being honest, but of course I do have my favorites. Great job, Jid. I'm very proud of you and your success all this year. You have substantially blown up this year, and I am so happy for you. All right. All right, it's taking a minute to get here. Top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5. Daytona by Push. Was that corny? Okay. This was another project where you just listen to what he's really saying, but then he still gave you enjoyable production at the same time. But then he would still be able to switch it up with the track Hard Piano. The production on there was different. And then Santeria. I liked how he made references that the, I guess, day one Pusha T fans would know, and also references that people that are close to him would know. I like the stuff like that. Even if I don't understand some of the references, I like how deep rooted the project goes to that extent. I thought that was pretty cool, honestly. So yes, number 4, Care for Me by Saba. Boy. I had so many notes on here about that project, but I'm not even gonna. The production, when I tell you, just, I think I said this on my top songs list about Busy/Sirens. I was entranced instantly. The production just for each song honestly was so beautiful. And then how he would switch up his voice as well. And then in the song Log Out, he would have these particular parts where he would have like a glitching sound with his voice. I loved it. I loved it so much. I don't know. I was just like, oh, what is this? But what I really loved about this project is just how honest he was about things that were happening with himself, internal battles he was going through, and then also how open he was about his cousin that had passed away, Walter. Walter was brought up a lot throughout this project, and it just made it emotional in a sense, because with the skill that he has of storytelling, it felt like you were there from the moments where he got rejected by a girl and he was trying to, you know, hype himself back up, you know, making him feel like, you know, bump her or whatever, and then hitting up Walter, and Walter's helping him find a date for prom. It felt like you were there witnessing those moments. Now, these last 3, it was hard. It was hard. Kids See Ghosts by Kids See Ghosts, Kanye and Kid Cudi. This project I love simply, you know, do I even have any favorite tracks? Do I have any favorite tracks listed right here? Because I loved all of them, really. I was just trying to challenge myself to break it down to a list, but I really loved all of these songs. I can play them from start to finish with no problem. Simply put, had a great combination of both of their styles. Besides how great the songs were, you could listen to one and be like, oh yeah, this is the type of beat that Kanye would be on. And then hear one like Free and Reborn. So then when you hear them on the tracks together, it's just a mind-blowing experience, especially with the beat transitions that these songs would have. I can't. That's really all I can say about it. I loved it. Number 2, we have Taboo by Denzel Curry. If you haven't seen, I'll name one interview, Breakfast Club, where he talked about just how personal these accounts were that he talked about in some of these songs, you should go watch that. Because I promise you, listening to it before that, just as enjoyable, but listening to it after that, it hits you in a different way. I promise you, it hits you in a different way. Because you hear it and it's like, oh dang, like, you know, how do you ever have any type of idea something like that is, you know, happened in someone's life? Just a sit down type of atmosphere of him talking about it, and then you go back and listen to it, it's different. It's different. He addressed a lot of things, especially with the music industry. So not only does he go from a visual standpoint, he switches it up with his flow, how his voice actually sounds, and whether he's going from like singing a little bit to rapping, it's just everything collectively comes together and sounds so freaking good. It's not a project that you want to miss out on this year. My number one project that I could listen to and never get tired of, where it had me over here mind blown with certain features that just appeared on the initial listen. Travis Scott's Astroworld. This is the type of work that should be presented to your fans when you have them waiting for a project over a long amount of time. For the years that people were waiting for Astroworld to drop, when it finally did, this was something to the equivalent of being worth the wait. You could just tell, it was evident how much hard work went into this, from start to finish, with the promotion and everything like that. Just with the theme park, with the merch, everything just went together so well to make the entire experience of Astroworld amazing. Yeah, that is my number one. We are done. If you have reached the end of this video, congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. I'm very excited for next year and the music that we're going to get, because this year, some people said it was underwhelming this year for music. Some said it was overwhelming. I think it was overwhelming, with a mixture of great things and things that sucked, but still more so a mixture of great things. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought your top albums were, and even your honorable mentions. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Social media stuff will be at the end, so just check that out. And as always, y'all stay safe in these streets, and I'll catch you on the next one.
That's my opinion! Don't you get it? Why can't anybody have an opinion but you?